Welcome to Warhammer 40k Chaos Gate Daemonhunters review, you nightly bastards. Let's just call it Chaos Gate, shall we? Can't be arsed repeating whole name all the time. I have played the game on Legendary and for about 90 hours. Played original Chaos Gate back in the day, but only for a little bit. So I'm glad this came out to give it a proper go. Remember that all reviews are subjective in the end, but I try to remain as objective as possible within the realm of subjective. So what is this game? How does it play? Like XCOM essentially. There are mechanic differences of course, but it is different version of XCOM, which is fine if done tastefully without blatant copy-paste with reskin only. Thankfully Chaos Gate can stand on its own and has enough for it to be considered worth paying attention to. I love XCOM, played both with expansions and Phoenix Point, which is also a really good game but with less budget and better mechanics. In short, you get a ship that is stuck in a system where Plague God Nurgle schemes. Bloom is his next disease he wants to unleash across the universe, with system you are in being first target. You being Grey Knights, one of the most powerful Emperor regiments with psychic powers next to high combat prowess, are tasked to stop it. First thing I have to commend is presentation. Ektar, Vakir, Lunette and cinematic ship sequences, even the one when ship enters and exits planet orbit, are done fantastic. Story is nothing extraordinary, but it is well presented through NPCs bickering with each having different vision on how to approach events and goals. It all makes sense. Ektar, Vakir and Lunette are all well written in their own right, and interacting with them is a pleasure. I love the way ship interactions are handled. After each important event there are new dialogue options that introduce lore behind Grey Knights, Grandmasters, Inquisitors, Tech Priests, Plague God and other important things connected to the campaign. Helpful for someone like me that doesn't know a damn thing about Warhammer and Warhammer 40k lore. Intro section is quite good too. By researching newly discovered things related to Nurgle's scheme, story progresses, adding interesting enemies and allies into the picture. Won't spoil anything, don't worry. Then we have events popping up which require some serious decision making. They are not story related but random things happening like warp storms, ship battles, cult sabotage and others. Decisions have detrimental and beneficial consequences. Usually siding with Vakir increases research speed, siding with Ektar increases XP gains for Knights, Lunette construction speed, Grandmaster armory and requisitions. I like it, but later on they can appear too frequently, which destroyed my campaign. At the end my ship had almost nothing working and no servitors to repair. Got stuck in a storm with increased hull damage taken debuff and couldn't move away. My mistake, but I had to chase Chaos Gate, reach all missions to stop Morbus from happening, which is game over essentially. There are options such as extermination torpedoes, but I made enough mistakes already in legendary difficulty that failure was inevitable. Learning experience that I mostly loved. Let's talk about gameplay. There are some big changes from XCOM and Phoenix Point, but mostly plays the same. For example, there is no hit or miss chance. Each attack is automatic hit, be it ranged or melee. Only thing that affects range attacks is cover, which reduces damage depending on if it's partial or full cover, and depending on weapon's effective range. There is balanced emphasis on both melee and range, with each class having access to both. Gameplay complements both styles, which adds enough diversity next to abilities connected to weapons and classes. Plenty to like and plenty enemies to test them on. As in every game, some abilities and skills are a bit better than others, but devs are active with updates to balance the game. I wasn't happy with second update, as you can see in the video reaction about it, but subsequent updates have been better. Kudos to devs. Combat has advanced mechanics such as limb targeting, but only when critical hit occurs. Interesting approach that works well. There are abilities that do automatic critical hit but cost willpower to use. Willpower mechanic is one I'm on the fence about. It is mandatory, don't get me wrong. Problem is that all abilities cost willpower, and with all the willpower draining going on and bloom debuffs that increase willpower cost, players end up using mostly auto attacks. Shame considering how fun some of the abilities are. I understand that if we could use abilities more often, game would be too easy. Hell, it is too easy on legendary in some cases like extra exceed missions. Then there is stun and execution mechanic. Love this one. Every enemy has stun meter, and if it drops to 0 they can be executed, which grants whole team +1 action point in some sort of morale boost. Executions are done with short cutscenes, which I like a lot, even though some are quite mediocre or straight up bad. Execution animations are necessary for these types of games in my opinion, as it adds break from the norm, which is isometric shooting or melee. Just wish they would have done more in that department. Might be a bit subjective, but this is one of the most badass games I have played because of Grey Knights and the way they respond to each action with added cinematic angles. In most games I turn off unit responses, but not in Chaos Gate. Their one-liners are fantastic.
The enemy is wounded. This one will fall! I am here to serve.
Praise the Emperor.
Here!
These heretics will suffer the ultimate punishment.
My wrath is restored, brother.
Blue mechanic is an interesting one. Instead of timer, which is present in only one mission type, we have warp surge meter that debuffs Grey Knights or buffs enemies. So the longer it takes to complete the mission, more permanent and temporary debuffs whole squad will have to go through. I prefer this to timer. It can be annoying at times though, like enemies exploding for 3 turns upon death, which can lead to dumb fails in ritual missions where enemies die when mission ends and kill potentially many knights even after it is all said and done, because of explosions. This type of stuff is easily fixed, thankfully. Most annoying debuffs that should go, in my opinion, are no heals for 3 turns and increased willpower requirement for all abilities. Hate those. It's interesting that whenever knights use willpower for any sort of action, warp surge meter increases, leading to more frequent debuffs. I like that, but not when we are already dealing with limited ability usage and warp surge becoming something you end up ignoring due to planet corruption that is at high levels frequently. Bloom warp surge mechanic has potential, but needs more work. Overall, combat gameplay is very good, with enough action, tactic, offensive and defensive options. Big plus, love it. Ship gameplay revolves around building, upgrading, servicing, researching and dealing with constant events affecting campaign buffs and debuffs. Events have their own rewards and each encounter offers 3 or 4 options how to resolve the situation. There are enough different build options that can steer campaign in a couple directions, but in most cases buildings are gonna be constructed alongside respective tiers. However, focus can be toward increasing barracks to have more Grey Knights, more servitors, increased hull integrity and better guns that leads to easier ship combat events, which leads to more acquisition, and so on. Linear with just enough freedom not to seem like you have no choice but to follow one build path. Interesting stuff can be built like prognosticars that reduce corruption on certain planets and provide other bonuses. Exterminatus torpedo that can nuke entire planet if things get out of hand. In combat and base ship gameplay, game gives enough options to deal with all sorts of trouble. Base ship is quite solid system, nothing you haven't seen before, but done in a way that inspires confidence you can pull through the campaign even on legendary difficulty. Needs more balancing, but overall I think it is solid system at the moment with potential to be even better. Grey Knight classes are well done. There is plenty diversity and they are fun to control thanks to great unit responses, sound effects, armor and weapon aesthetics. Grey Knights can wear either power armor, which enhances mobility, or Terminator, which increases survivability. Many variations of these two are unlocked over the course of campaign with additional enhancements such as more grenades, more armor, more health, immunity to certain conditions, more willpower and so on. Weapon choice is phenomenal, especially for melee, which is fantastic for someone like me that prefers to melee things instead of sniping. Don't worry though, there is enough for ranged too. Then there is war gear, where servo skulls, equipment and grenades can be equipped, adding additional character build layer that can be changed for every mission to match requirements better. Character progression is quite good too. Knights can level up to rank 9 and you have to pick a path to focus on. Can't have them all, so pick carefully as not all skill trees are made equal. Doing build guides videos at the moment that help with build, so check them out if you need a tip or two. Knights have many options, such as AG shield upgrade, specific weapon focus, psychic abilities, teleportation and so on. Enough to play around with and explore different squad builds. Campaign starts with 4 basic classes and after some time 4 more classes are unlocked, so plenty diversity. Every class specializes in certain role. Purgatory is long range specialist, Justicar is tanky melee fighter, Paladin tankiest melee fighter, Apothecary healer, Interceptor teleporter, Chaplain buffer and so on. Squad composition can vary a lot and it all works, but not for every mission type. So you have to take into consideration a lot of factors before picking out the squad. I love that picking out a team on higher difficulties can mean you have already won or lost if war gear is wrong and class just doesn't suit mission style. One thing that pisses me off is that newly recruited Grey Knights come with already set in ability points. On Legendary every point counts, especially early and mid game. Respect doesn't come easy as well. Another Grey Knight needs to die in mission for its gene pool to be used to allow respect. Cool concept that I wouldn't mind at all if new Grey Knights would come without already upgraded skill tree. Let us start building the bastards as we see fit, cause it helps a lot for future squad compositions. Customization is mediocre but kinda makes sense. They are called Grey Knights for a reason, even though they could have added different shades of grey to play around with, leaning more to white or black spectrum. Don't get me wrong, it ain't bad, because there are options to change pauldrons, greaves, decorations and such things, but it is a tad bit lacking. There are some things I am not overly fond of. Reinforcement mechanic is a cheap way of adding difficulty and it removes feeling of progression. Later on in the campaign when knights have been upgraded a lot, it makes sense to some extent, so that game isn't too easy, but needs tweaking for early and mid game. It can be infuriating at times with 3 or 4 enemy groups spawning at once to gangbang some Grey Knights. Enemy variety is also not the best. Not bad, but not great either. Mission variety is not so great either. There are 4 mission types: Seed Carrier, Bloomspawn, Bloomspreader and Ritual, with occasional story related missions that play out in unique manner. You'll be doing a lot of the same ones on different planets, meaning a different setting. Also not bad aspect of the game, but not great either. From visual standpoint, game looks average. Grey Knights and important boss-like characters look amazing, but enemies look rather average. Bit plastic, for lack of better explanation. Map details are quite good, with Nurgle influence affecting every stage to a certain degree. Visual effects like grenade explosions, pulsing weapons and gore are properly done. Without gore this game would be much less interesting. Nothing like shooting head off of plague bearer to make them crazed so they attack allies. Sound design is top notch, amazing soundtrack, sound effects and voiceover. 10 out of 10. This brings us to final score. I love Chaos Gate. It has its flaws, mainly balancing and some mediocre aspects, but overall it is mostly fun experience with enough replayability to keep it going for some time. Devs have done some good updates lately and understand where some problems lie, so I have high hopes for future of Chaos Gate. At the moment for me this is 7 out of 10, which translates to good game, with potentially becoming great, which would mean solid 8. Thanks all for watching, check out description for Patreon and subscribe star links if you want to help the channel further, and stay tuned for more content.